morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to season number 1 in the book of Genesis, and this is episode number 10. Today, think with me, and I'm going to call this the pause before the applause. So the question today is, how do you punctuate a particular activity? So I want you to think with me about an orchestra. So an orchestra is playing this great piece of music, and I'm going to call that God's creation. He's been doing that for 6 days. And then after that, at a particular instant, the song stops. The baton guy stops doing his thing, and the notes stop. And for a moment, this brief moment, there's this silence. And that's God saying, I am declaring a Sabbath. And then the third step is, then there's going to be a response. And our Sabbath, what we do on the Sabbath, is the third thing that happens. It's how we applaud. How do we respond to this great piece of music that now has stopped, has been modeled by God to stop? And why do we applaud? Well, it's because of the fantastic things that he did for the 6 days of creation. We applaud because of this fantastic thing that he's done. And he leaves this pattern of rest. Why? Because he needs it? No, because we need it. So yesterday we noted that God did not have to enter time and count to 7 and do this wonderful thing and then pause. So God makes time, he enters time, he counts to 7. Though he did not need it, he rests. Why is that? Because we need it, and he blesses us, and then he makes this day holy. So what is so interesting today is that no one in the universe needed rest less than God. He's all powerful, and when he was extended to the maximum, he still was all powerful. So why did God rest and bless the seventh day? So let's explore with me. This is from Genesis chapter 2 and verse 1. We're going to start there. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had done. Then listen to this. So God blessed the seventh day. He blessed it and made it holy, because on it God rests from all his work that he had done in creation. So in doing so, God ennobles work, and he punctuates work. So he stops for a second. He admires this body of work, as should we. And he finishes this portfolio of making heaven and earth and a host of other planetary systems, which is cool. And then notice with me today is God blesses the day. He blesses the specific day. He made it holy. So it's not me that makes the Sabbath holy. It's not you that makes the Sabbath holy. Not a religion that makes the Sabbath holy. God has acted. And God is the main mover about the specialness of the seventh day. So before you work, or before you stop working, or before you were born, or before you thought or realized this cycle that God has made for you or not, there was a Sabbath created. There was a day made holy. And it's this recurring weekly period of specialness, and God is the main mover on that special day. So who started the Sabbath? It was holy before you got there. It was blessed before you got there. And your activity does not make the Sabbath holy. No, the point is, your activity on the Sabbath, your rest on the Sabbath, your special activity, it recognizes and endorses and appreciates that the Sabbath was already holy, that it was already blessed by God. So God made the Sabbath holy. And how should I respond? Well, I should make the Sabbath holy too. How do I applaud? So who made the weekly holiday? It's God's favor, God blessing us that we stand downstream of. Why do we call it the Lord's Day? Well, he made it. He worked before it. He ennobled it with his presence, and he ennobled it with his rest. So the implications here, we haven't talked about this, but God works and so should you. God worked hard and so should you, whatever your hands finds to do. But realize, the big point of today is to realize that the particular mover in this day is God himself. And how does God's action grab our attention? Well, it's by this moment of rest, by this Sabbath rest. So it's like that moment after the song ends, and it's the pause that punctuates the song and punctuates, if you will, the applause that it's going to follow it. So the Sabbath is the pause before the applause. God rests, and so should you. All right, so for us, just remember, God didn't need to rest, but we do. And we get to wake up to a special day that God blessed. He blessed it. He made it holy, and we should be eager for it. Remember that God is this big worker, and we should anticipate our rest, that we can appreciate all the things that He's done. And maybe you'll see other things that work is overshadowed as we take this pause. Maybe you can pause and see nature or His church or His people. Now remember, the church specifically is this multifaceted expression of God's character, and it's distributed in the unique gifts of the Holy Spirit to individuals that you might only see on a Sunday. And one of the things we do on the Sabbath is pause and go to that place where all those individuals are expressing God's particular character. So remember, God's the big worker before the Sabbath. He's the main mover on the Sabbath. And God made this pause after all this great, after the music, after all this great work, He calls it the Sabbath. And the Sabbath is the pause that God establishes. He makes it holy. And then we get to applaud it and kind of do some activity. So our activity recognizes and endorses and appreciates that the Sabbath was and is already made holy and blessed by Him. So we respond by our applause, our appreciation for Him and what He's done, how He made it holy, that He entered the world, that He pauses, He counts to 7, and He blesses us in this way. So how do we applaud? Well, do what He said, be a human, be a rest person. Know that you need rest and restoration and recharging. He didn't, but you do. Have something to recharge from. Work hard. And then maybe go visit. Go visit Him in a special way. That's called worship. Go visit His people and see their special expressions of Him. So today we learn about the Sabbath, which is, He started it. He started by making this great creation. Then He makes this pause. He made the rest. He made the Sabbath Himself. And then we get our Sabbath in response to it. Thanks for listening.